Good afternoon and welcome to the 38th annual presentation of the Judy Lopez Memorial Award for Children's Literature. We're glad you joined us for the virtual celebration of this prestigious national award. I am Alan Gratz, New York Times bestselling author of books like 2 Degrees, Ground Zero, and Allies, and the 2018 Judy Lopez Award medalist for my book Refugee, the story of 3 different kids in 3 different times and 3 different places, all of whom are driven from their homes by violence and forced to seek refuge somewhere else. I wrote Refugee to shine a light on the ongoing refugee crisis in the world, with the hope that it would change hearts and minds to the plight of refugees everywhere. Winning the Judy Lopez Award was an amazing honor because it helped me bring that message to even more young readers, and for that, I will be forever grateful. I'm excited to be a part of this year's event, where we turn that spotlight on authors Skylar Shrimp, Celia C. Perez, Kwame Alexander, and Lisa Yee. Their stories take us from West Africa to the Mid-Atlantic, from California to Minnesota, from Oklahoma to California, and as close as the next town over. Their books tackle themes like family secrets, gender roles, and finding your voice, to the worst parts of U.S. history: dehumanization, exploitation, racism, and xenophobia, issues the United States continues to grapple with today. During our time together, you'll get a sneak peek into how and where these authors write their books, their family histories, and maybe even an introduction to a pet or two. You're in for a treat. Before we get started, we want to thank the selection committee for their time and consideration. Every year, the committee reads the many nominated books, then meets to select the best of the best in the middle grade category of 9 to 12 years old, published by a U.S. citizen in the prior year. That is a lot of reading. Thank you, Selection Committee, for all your terrific work. Now, let's start the show with a look back at the legacy of Judy Lopez and the history of the Women's National Book Association.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 38th Annual Judy Lopez Memorial Award for Children's Fiction. I am Natalie Obando, and I am the Women's National Book Association's National President, and I'm honored to be here with you today. The Judy Lopez Memorial Award holds a special place in my heart, not just because I am the former president of the LA chapter, but because I am the daughter of a single immigrant mother. My mother knew early on what a love for books could do for me. And it's because of this instilled love for books that my mother gave me that I do the work that I do today with Women's National Book Association. The Women's National Book Association was established in 1917, before women in the United States even had the right to vote. The WNBA's founding idea that books have power and those involved in their creation gain strength by joining forces reaches across decades to now serve members across the country for over a century. I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about Judy Lopez and the history of the award. Judy Lopez was a bookseller. She was a buyer for the California State University bookstore, and she was one of the founders of the Los Angeles chapter of the Women's National Book Association. Judy recognized the need to develop a child's love of books early in life, particularly between the ages of 9 through 12. After Judy Lopez passed in 1985, her family wished to honor her memory by starting the Judy Lopez Foundation to support the Judy Lopez Memorial Award. The award is given yearly to a book published in the United States during the preceding year and written for ages 9 through 12. The award-winning title receives a specially engraved bronze medal designed by sculptor Alex Chagan. Up to 3 honor titles are also selected. So now, a big welcome to all and a big thank you for joining us. Also, our heartfelt gratitude to the Judy Lopez Memorial Award Committee for their tireless dedication to bringing this event annually. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy your afternoon.
Hello, my name is Marcy Drexler, and I am pleased to introduce to you 3 Strike Summer by Skylar Shrimp, winner of the Judy Lopez 2023 Honor Book Award. Meet Gloria May Willard, 11 years old, sharp as all get out, angry. Angry at the land, parched and barren where her family's farm used to flourish. Angry at the bank manager, come to kick them out of their house so the bulldozers can reduce it to a pile of lumber. Angry at having to leave her baby brother behind, in his grave beneath the cottonwood tree. And then there are the boys in town who won't let her play on the baseball team. Her, Gloria May Willard, who could fire a rock and crack the bank manager's windshield and disappear into the woods before anybody knew what happened. Gloria May, or Glo, has a lot going for her. She's smart, her family loves her, she's got guts, and of course, there's that pitching arm. But Glo is growing up in a desperate time and place. There's no money, not enough food, and the only work her family can get is 1,000 dusty miles away in California, picking peaches in a work camp that's more like a prison than a place to get back on your feet and then move on. Her father, mother, and older sister try to make the best of a terrible situation. But Glo is outraged by the broken shack they must rent, the cruelty of the men who run the place, the high prices at the camp store, the dangerous working conditions, and we feel her fury as if it were our own. Glo understands that life is hard and will do anything to help her family, but she can't accept the unfairness of it all. And Gloria May Willard is someone who never gives up. When she learns about a baseball team at the camp, Glo decides that maybe there's hope in this God-forsaken place, and that the days of begging the boys to let her play are over. Here she is, having just learned that the team is down a player. As dirty and dust-covered as this shanty town was, I was starting to think there might be more for me to do here than pick peaches. I felt a humming through my ribs and a hunger in my belly. Back in Balco, I might have started begging for a chance to play. But not here, not now. I had 1,000 miles at my back, 10,000 pitches under my arm, and I'd seen enough pictures to know how to put a little swagger in my step. I hooked my thumbs in the sides of my overalls and squinted up at the sky. "So y'all play ball here, or are thems just for show?" I asked, cocking my head at the bat. If you'd like to learn something while you're having fun reading, you can learn a lot from Three Strikes Summer. You learn about the worst environmental disaster in the history of our country, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, which drove millions of people off their farms. You learn what it felt like to be poor during the Great Depression and be hungry all the time. You learn how it feels to have to work at a job that pays nowhere near enough to cover rent and food. And you learn what it's like to have to leave behind the home you've always known and where part of your heart lies buried. These are tough lessons, but Gloria May is not a person who takes life lying down. She and her family fight for justice. Just like in real life, they don't always succeed, but they never stop trying. When we root for Gloria to get what she most desires, we ourselves feel empowered. And finally, we learn that sometimes you can wind up winning in a way you never even imagined. Skylar Shrimp, with Three Strikes Summer, you have hit the ball out of the park on your first at-bat. And with your audiobook narration, you've pitched a perfect game. Congratulations on being a Judy Lopez Honor Award winner.
Hi, this is Skylar Shrimp. I am the author of Three Strikes Summer, which is a middle grade novel. It's historical fiction set during the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. And I am just so unbelievably blown away and honored to be one of the Judy Lopez Memorial Award honorees. Just the company I'm in, the other authors from this year as well as years past, I just feel like a kid that wandered into like a fancy ball late at night and is hoping that she gets to stay. It's really, really cool. This is my first book, so it's really wonderful to have people read it and love it and notice it and want to share it with others. Three Strike Summer is the story of Gloria May Willard, who is an 11-year-old Dust Bowl refugee. She kind of came to me, I wanted to write a short story about like a super tough girl that maybe has a misguided idea about what it means to be strong and sort of thinks of strength in kind of a like hyper masculine way. Like you hit people, you throw things, you yell at people, this sort of, I kind of almost toxic masculinity that we, she wouldn't have a word for that, but that she has this idea about what it means to be powerful. Obviously it's not a short story. It's a book. So I didn't succeed there. But I think a lot of what this book is about learning how to take all your power and specifically take all your anger and channel it into something that can really be used to make the world a better place. Something that I noticed when I was a kid that I still really notice today is that people talk a good game about what they would have done, what they would have said, what they would have stood up for. And the fact is, most of us aren't as brave as we are in our minds. It's hard to be brave and it's hard to do the right thing when it's hard. And so Gloria is someone that is figuring that out and figuring out what it means to stand up and speak out, even when no one is going to be on your side, if it's the right thing to do. And I hope that, kids and adults and whoever read this book feel compelled to do that and feel a little bit of wind at their back, whether they're speaking up about the way, they're being treated because of some aspect of their identity or not getting paid enough or whatever it is. Yeah, that's my hope for this. I'm just so amazed to be here and I'm just so happy Gloria's here too. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I'm just speechless. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm Bryn Lopez, and it is my pleasure to introduce Tumble by Celia C. Perez, the recipient of a 2023 Judy Lopez Memorial Honor for Children's Literature. Tumble is a magnificent story about a New Mexican girl named Addie who is grappling with unmasking her legendary family myths and finding the inner strength to create her own identity. 12-year-old Adela Addie Ramirez has a big decision to make when her stepfather proposes adoption. Addie loves Alex, the only father figure she's ever known. But with a new half-brother due in a few months and a big school theater performance on her mind, everything suddenly feels like it's just moving too fast. She has a million questions, and the first is about the young man in the photo she finds hidden away in her mother's things. He is actually Manny the Mountain Bravo, a famous luchador. When Addie decides that she would like to meet him, her sleuthing takes her to a New Mexico ranch, and her world expands to include the legendary world of the Bravo family's wrestling dynasty. Addie meets Rosie and Pancho, her grandparents, and former professional wrestlers. Her identical twin cousins Ava and Maggie, who love to tumble in and out of the ring. Then there is her uncle Mateo, whose lucha and drag couture and his understanding advice are unmatched. And of course, finally, Manny, her long-gone biological father, who's now trying to make a big career comeback in wrestling. The Bravo family's luchadores legacy is strong, but being a family is so much harder. You have to show up, you have to take off your masks, and most importantly, you have to work together. Addie is an irrepressible character with whom the reader explores these newfound family connections. There's lots of middle school drama, inescapable disappointments, epic decisions, and a few humorous surprises. Celia C. Perez has offered nuanced characters that are figuring out real and complex relationships where they discover that biological family and found family are equally important. From a true-to-life tumbleweed snowman, a perfectly thrilling new take on the Nutcracker, to a tiny side street museum that represents the history of a community, Tumble is a beautiful depiction of New Mexico and all of its enchanted diversity. I loved Addie Ramirez and her turbulent, loving, and expanding family. I loved her old and new friends, navigating new desert paths and jumping into the ring to claim each of their own unique and individual spaces.
Hi everyone, I'm Celia Perez, the author of Tumble, one of this year's Judy Lopez Memorial Award for Children's Literature Honor Books. You never know where a book will go once it's out in the world, so it is a wonderful surprise to have the Judy Lopez Memorial Award be a part of Tumble's journey. Tumble is my third novel for young readers, and it's the story of a kid named Addie who has a big decision to make. Her stepfather has made a life-changing proposal, and this gets her thinking about all of the things that her mom has never told her about her biological father. She has never met him, and she does not know who he is. So the readers go on this journey with Addie and her best friend Sai as they try to uncover the identity of her biological father. When she finally learns who he is, she discovers all of these things about herself. The big and kind of obvious one being that she comes from a family of professional wrestlers. So Tumble is a story about wrestling and about family. It's a story about grappling with the scary feelings that come with growing up and having to make big decisions. It's a story about hidden identities, origin stories, and traveling between worlds. I usually start a book with a few details that I know I want to work into a story. And the first thing I knew about Tumble was that it was going to be a book about professional wrestling and lucha libre. For those of you who are not familiar with it, lucha libre is a Mexican style of wrestling, and it's often characterized by masked luchadores who do a lot of acrobatics and high-flying moves. It's the Mexican version of professional wrestling. So my protagonist, Addie, comes from a family of Mexican and Mexican-American wrestlers, and it was impossible to write this story without weaving the tradition of lucha libre into it. Lucha libre, with its masked wrestlers, is about hidden identities, and this is a big part of Addie's story. Not only is the identity of her father a secret, but in not knowing who he is, there's a part of her own story and identity that is hidden. The inspiration for writing about wrestling came from my own middle school and early high school obsession with professional wrestling. I watched a ridiculous number of hours of it every weekend. I even kept diaries in which I recapped the week's matches. As a matter of fact, in doing research for the book, I read back on some of my own diaries from the years when I was a fan, and I have one of those here. This was from middle school. Some of you may recognize these old school fake leather-bound books with the clasp. Came with a little tiny key, and you could lock it and keep your nosy siblings from reading your innermost thoughts. In addition to being inspired by wrestling, Tumble was also inspired by my childhood love of mythology. Wrestling and mythology have a lot in common. They are both forms of storytelling with similar elements. They both have these characters with superhuman strength. They have characters who fall from grace, and there's lots of family drama, of course. Everything has a larger-than-life quality. Everything's unbelievable and yet maybe possible. There are secrets, betrayals, vengeance, tragedies, triumphs, all of the things that make for a really good story. There's good and evil, and the line between the two is at once clearly drawn, but also sometimes unclear. At times we find ourselves sympathizing with the heels, especially when we get a glimpse of their humanity. So after the inspiration for the book comes the actual writing. And my writing process is made up of two major parts. There's the revision part, which for me is very tactile and hands-on. And there's the thinking and researching part. This is where I pull in a lot of the little details, like the Tumbleweed Snowman from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the classic ballet, The Nutcracker, which both make appearances in Tumble. And my hope is that these details make for a more colorful, relatable, and deeper story. Like all of my books, regardless of the setting and plot and characters, at its core, Tumble is a story about a young person discovering who she is, learning to make decisions for herself, and developing a sense of agency. I get the question a lot about whether my books are autobiographical in any way. And while they are not, I am not any of my protagonists, there is always a little bit of me in my protagonists. For Tumble, I remember what it was like to be a kid and feel like all of the adults made choices for me, that I didn't have a say in my own life, and that conflicted feeling of wanting to be more grown up, but also a little bit scared of what that meant. One of the things Addie learns is that making big decisions isn't easy, but that it's empowering to be able to do this and to have choices. Addie also realizes that all the people who support her and care for her are family, whether they are related biologically or not. So I hope that kids who read Tumble feel like they have the power to determine for themselves who they will be in their own journeys in their lives. Thank you again to the Judy Lopez Memorial Award Committee for joining Addie on her journey and recognizing Tumble this year. I always think of myself as a reader first and a writer second, and my happiest memories of my life as a reader are from the ages of about 9 to 12. I think that's why I gravitate to middle grade, both as a reader and as a writer. So it is such an honor to be a part of the legacy of Judy Lopez in promoting middle grade books and in promoting a love of reading among children. Thank you.
I'm Gail Kim, and this is The Door of No Return by Kwame Alexander. Once there was a boy who was born to swim. He feels at home in the water. He studies the British monarchy and English in school. He and his best friend have each other's backs. He is beginning to really take notice of one girl in particular. And he and his cousin just cannot get along with each other. A normal boy with a good life, until it wasn't. The series of events that propel him through the door of no return. A boy named Kofi living in West Africa in 1860. One life during the time of the transatlantic trafficking and trade of human beings. History is recorded by those who are in control, shaped to their agenda. Kwame Alexander illumines a chapter which must be seen. His poetic voice speaks for those who have been silenced. His storytelling draws you into Kofi's mind and experiences. The selection committee is pleased to name The Door of No Return by Kwame Alexander a 2023 Judy Lopez Memorial Award Honor Book, and thanks him for bearing witness to too often silenced history.
Hey, this is Kwame Alexander, the author of The Door of No Return, which is, wait for it, a Judy Lopez Memorial Book Award honor book. How cool is that? I'm so grateful to the Women's National Book Association, to the students who have read my book, to the teachers who have signed it, to everyone who believes that books can help young people imagine a better world. This was the hardest book I ever wrote. It's about a boy who has a crush on a girl. And he's got a cousin who's a bully who likes the same girl. And his cousin beats him at everything, at racing, at wrestling. But he's a really great swimmer. So he challenges his cousin to a swim-off. He feels like if he beats his cousin, he'll win his pride back. And he'll win the heart of a girl that he likes. He practices every day at the river after school. The night before the swim off, he goes to the river one more time to get in one more practice session, even though he's been told to stay out of the water at night because the river is cursed. He gets in the water, he swims, he's fast, he comes out, and what happens? Brings him face to face with the door of no return. You have to read the book to find out. Thank you all so much for this honor. I'm really grateful.
Hi, I am Bren Lopez. It is my honor to introduce Maisie Chen's Last Chance by Lisa Yi, the medal recipient of the 2023 Judy Lopez Memorial Award for Children's Literature. Like the most magnificent and tasty dim sum, Lisa Yi has crafted a deceptively simple but unforgettably delicious offering of family, friendship, community, cultural history, and lots of delicious food, with an irresistible hostess named Maisie Chen. Summer has just begun, and tween Maisie, who was prepared for weeks of adventurous fun with her best friend Ginger, has had her plans disrupted when her grandfather Opa becomes sick. Maisie and her food stylist mother Charlotte journey from their home in Los Angeles to spend their summer with Maisie's grandparents in Last Chance, Minnesota. Maisie hasn't seen her Oma and Opa since she was 8, and as she rekindles her relationships with them, she begins to notice things that make her curious. Her mom and Oma seem to always be in conflict. Someone in Last Chance is targeting her Opa and Oma's Chinese restaurant, the Golden Palace, with racist attacks. Her Opa has stopped talking to his old friend Werner, and most mysteriously, a wall of the restaurant is covered in very old photographs and papers. Maisie searches for the answers to these questions while caring for Opa and also navigating new friendships and encounters with bullies in Last Chance. Opa tells Maisie, eventually, about her great-great-grandfather Lucky Chen, who immigrated to the U.S. from China in the 1860s and who owned the Golden Palace restaurant that Maisie's grandparents still run. Lucky worked in a dangerous job for the railroads when he came to America, and he took opportunities to improve his life while still battling hatred and constant danger. When he found himself in Last Chance, he took a job at a restaurant. He worked hard, and eventually he purchased the restaurant with his wife Lulu, and they renamed it the Golden Palace. The Chen family paid it forward, helping Chinese immigrants called paper sons make their way in America by providing them with the necessities they needed. Lucky and other Chinese immigrants faced hatred and racism in America, but they were also met with kindness. Maisie encounters similar experiences in the present day. The Golden Palace is targeted in a racist incident when a bear statue is vandalized and stolen from in front of the restaurant. Maisie's search for the bear and the thief helps uncover other hidden community secrets. Maisie realizes her Opa and Oma need help, so with the help of a researcher, she contacts some of the descendants of the Paper Sons, and they and the Last Chance community all come together when Maisie's family needs them the most. Maisie Chen impacts Last Chance and her family, helping to mend relationships and gaining a deeper understanding of the history of her family and her new community. Lisa Yi has skillfully woven together themes of identity, community, and fighting racism. The cast of characters from past and present come to life beautifully on the page, and they drive the reader to root for Maisie Chen's Last Chance.
Hi, I'm Lisa Yi, and we're in my office, and this is my creative space. This is where I write most of my books and where I get all my ideas from and my inspiration. And as you can see, I have a lot of stuff, but this stuff is also memories. And the memories of my childhood and of things that have happened recently and way in the past inspire me to write my books. So, yeah, office. And by the way, it's usually a lot cleaner than it looks now. Hi, I'm Lisa Yee, author of Maisie Chan's Last Chance, and I am thrilled to be able to talk to you today. You know, Judy Lopez was an amazing woman, a book lover who championed the need to nurture a child's love of books and then help turn them into lifelong readers. I had my own Judy Lopez in my life, my mother. She would read to me every night before bed, and when I became old enough to learn how to read myself, sometimes I'd read to her at night. And if I was lucky, she would fall asleep and I could just stay up late and read and read and read. My son, who's now an adult, once told me rather smugly, "You don't know this, but when I was a kid, I'd stay up all night and read with a flashlight." And I said to him, "Who do you think bought you that flashlight?" Maisie Chan's Last Chance is the story that I was meant to write. Even though it's my 21st novel, I don't think I could have written it any earlier in my career. I just wasn't ready. I think there's something to be said about living life, observing and absorbing, and then channeling that into your work. This is my most personal work to date. It's about history and mystery and family and food and fortune and race and hate, but ultimately about hope. Maisie's story toggles back and forth between the present with Maisie, who was born and raised in Los Angeles like me, and then who, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, ends up in a very, what to her is a strange, faraway land called Minnesota. But there she learns about her great-great-grandfather's immigration and assimilation from China to America. The book shines a light on the Chinese-American experience, the good and the bad, then and now. I was writing during the pandemic when anti-Asian hate was skyrocketing, and fact and fiction began to blur, and I just had the worst writer's block, and I felt so powerless because I wanted to help and I didn't know what I could do. And then I realized I could finish writing this book, but honestly, it was so hard to write. It was really hard to write, and I don't know why I'm telling you this now, but I truly think that because it was so hard for me to write, it makes today and this award all the more meaningful. I'd like to dedicate the award to my parents. They were the inspiration for Oma and Opa, Maisie's own grandparents, and though they didn't own a Chinese restaurant in the Midwest, they served their community in their own way, both as public school teachers, and then later, before the pandemic hit, my mother was a library volunteer in my hometown of Monterey Park, California. A huge shout out to the other authors being recognized, Kwame, Skylar, and Celia. But most of all, thank you to the Judy Lopez Memorial Award Selection Committee and to the Women's National Book Association, Los Angeles. Maisie Chan's Last Chance is about discovering family, whether it's the one you were born into or the one that you create on your own. I would love it if this novel encourages readers to explore their own life stories and that of those around them. I like to assign words to my characters. In addition to hope, Maisie's other word was bridge. She was a bridge between family members and generations and races and even countries. The Judy Lopez Memorial Award is also about hope, and it's a bridge that helps put Maisie's story and so many others in front of young readers, and I am grateful for that. Thank you.
Congratulations, Lisa, and congrats to all the other extraordinary writers who won this year's Judy Lopez Memorial Award for Children's Literature. We want to thank again all the publishers who submitted books and the selection committee who read all those books. You can find more information about these authors and previous winners at judylopezaward.org, where there is also a link to purchase books. Thank you so much for joining us. It was an honor to be back as your host. Until next year's awards, this is Alan Gratz wishing you good health and happy reading.